Gimbals are pretty cool, so let's talk about it. Okay, so right off the bat, this is the Canon EOS R7 with the Sigma 18-35. Now, on its own, this isn't the smoothest of all setups, and because of the camera's built-in image stabilization, sometimes it could become quite wobbly, especially at 18mm. And obviously, this lens does not have any image stabilization, so that doesn't help it out a lot. So you can put it on a gimbal. Basically, if you don't know what this is a motorized 3-axis gimbal that I can put the camera on and it keeps it steady and smooth, and we can do pre-programmed movements, and I can walk around with it. I can put it on a boom pole. I don't have to stabilize the footage after the fact. It just really helps it out a lot. And what this allows me to do is use setups that don't have any built-in stabilization at all. Now this camera does have that, the lens does not. But I primarily have used this with the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, which is what I'm currently using to film it. Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up is the Canon EOS R8 was recently released. And that's basically the smaller full-frame brother to the Canon R7, and that camera does not have any built-in image stabilization. So if you get that camera, it could be quite unstable, especially with a lens that does not have that built in. For example, this combo right here. This Sigma lens is a fantastic lens, but it doesn't have stabilization. So what could you do to fix that issue without having to do anything in post? Well, the answer is either a gimbal or a Steadicam or something like that. Obviously, you could mount the camera on a tripod and it won't move. But gimbals are a great tool that allow you to get smooth-looking footage without having to spend the extra money for a lens with built-in stabilization. So let's talk about my experience with using gimbals. The main issue that I've had with them is that they're quite heavy. Now this is the DJI Ronin RSC2. This is the kind of the compact version. Now there is the third generation of these that came out, and there is a smaller version that's even lightweight and smaller than this one. But it can get kind of hard to carry around if you're using it for an extended period of time. And that's where using body only helps out a lot, is because the camera itself is quite a lot lighter than with a whole gimbal. Now, battery life on these gimbals is fantastic. I almost never charge it. It lasts many days on one battery, so that isn't an issue. And there's lots of accessories and things you can pair these gimbals with to get the most out of them. Now, a great advantage with these DJI gimbals is they have camera control. So all you have to do is connect this one USB-C cable to the camera, and then I can control the focus and the record button and a lot of the features of the camera with the gimbal itself, with the buttons right here and on the back wheel. And that's super helpful. It's very easy to use, and I am a huge fan of gimbals. Now this is the main one that I've used, but I would say that the new one that came out, I think it's the DJI Ronin 3 Mini, is an amazing gimbal for the price. It's super compact and will probably be a lot easier to use than this gimbal right here. And it's probably a fantastic partner to these Canon R series cameras that are smaller, so like the R7, the R8, even the R10 would greatly benefit from a gimbal. If you are doing vlogging, I tried this once. You cannot easily vlog with this. Your arms hurt way too much. So if you're wondering, like if I can get the R8 and get a gimbal after the fact for vlogging, that could fix the stabilization issues, right? Yes, it could, but it's already starting to hurt. If you want to hold it like this, it's just not gonna happen. Your arm's gonna hurt way too much. That smaller gimbal from DJI might help this a little bit, but it still is quite heavy. Now there are some ways to get around the weight problem. For example, you might have seen some backpacks and things that have arms that go over someone's shoulders and can carry a cage with a gimbal in it. But that adds more weight. It does fix the problem of it just being quite heavy, and it puts the weight on your back more, and that's better. But As far as most of the time, a setup like this isn't too bad as long as you're not holding it super far out in front of you, and that can become quite fatiguing. Another thing is with these smaller gimbals, they can be folded up into something really compact. So if you lock all the axes and you can more easily fit this inside of something. Usually I'd pull the camera off, but you get the idea. And if you can shrink all these arms, it gets even smaller. Now, one more downside is with, in addition to the weight, is most of these gimbals, if you're changing setups a lot, you're gonna have to rebalance it every time, and that can be quite finicky, especially the first time you're doing it. As you use your gimbal more and more, you'll get more and more used to that and faster at it, but it's just something you'll have to do sometimes. Some of the more professional gimbals have auto locks and are easier to balance because they have more finely adjustable knobs. This gimbal is a little bit older, it doesn't have that, so if you want to lock it, you have to physically lock it. But again, those newer gimbals are even better. So I just thought I'd make this video as a suggestion. I love using my gimbal, and it works really, really well, and it's quite fun to use, and it just makes everything look better when I'm walking around and using it. There is kind of a look to gimbal footage, but it's better than handheld a lot of times, but it depends on what you're going for. If you have any questions about this gimbal, please leave them in the comments below. I'm probably gonna do more of a deeper dive into gimbals, but this is kind of just like, you know, my experience with them and how I've enjoyed using them. So here's a quick montage of some footage shot on this exact setup. So DJI RSC2, Canon EOS R7, and the Sigma 18-35. And just for fun, I will disable the built-in stabilization in the camera itself to see how good the footage looks out of the camera with just the stabilization of the gimbal. And obviously all this footage will be handheld, so no tripods or anything like that. So this is what this looks like. One more quick thing before we go is that these gimbals have a mobile app like this, so I can just control the gimbal from the app. I can change the speed. Let me do that real quick. Isn't that cool? And you can actually connect like a game controller to this to move it that way. You can make pre-programmed movements if you're wanting to do that. You can put this gimbal on a slider to get even cooler shots, so it's kind of like a miniature robot as well as being a stabilizer. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell to see when the next video comes out. If you have any questions about this camera setup or any of the other equipment I use, please leave it in the comments and I will, as always, answer your question. That's it for this video, and thank you for watching.